Hello and welcome to the show. I'm Kara Showers and I am the Mass in Motion Grant Coordinator for both the Melrose and Wakefield Health Departments. And I'm thrilled you're joining us today. We have another wonderful guest with us here. We have Alicia McCabe, who is the Massachusetts State Director for No Kid Hungry and Cooking Matters at the Store.
Yeah.
Thank you for being here, Alicia.
My pleasure.
Welcome.
My pleasure.
So, what do you do with No Kid Hungry and Cooking Matters?
Yeah, so No Kid Hungry is a national campaign working to end childhood hunger in the United States. And in Massachusetts, we primarily do that through our Cooking Matters program. So for the last 20 years, we've been running kind of healthy cooking classes for low-income families, working with community centers, after-school programs, Head Starts, WICs, and really teaching families the skills that they need to know how to pick the right ingredients at the grocery store, bring them home, and turn them into meals that taste good and are nutritious. And what we've learned in the past few years is that as the economy has been extremely challenging, families are really having a hard time choosing healthy ingredients at the store. And so we created a new initiative, it's about 2 years old, called Cooking Matters at the Store. And so we take families on a 90-minute grocery store tour and teach them how to look at unit prices, figure out what a whole grain is, read a nutrition facts panel, and stretch their budgets in ways that are healthy and taste good.
Great. Well, we're so excited you're here today because later on we're going to be going to our pretend grocery store together, yes, and we'll be able to show the viewers how this looks and what they can expect when we go to do tours here in Wakefield and Melrose and beyond. So
absolutely,
we're thrilled. And you know, as a public health person and someone who is coordinating the Mass in Motion grant in Melrose and Wakefield, we are focused on eating better and moving more. And I just love the idea of this Cooking Matters at the Store because, you know, people know when they go to the grocery store they're supposed to be buying healthy things, but that doesn't really mean that they're actually going to buy those products and change their behavior and start, you know, cooking healthier at home. So the way that you guys are able to give people on the tour skills they need to actually buy the right products and make this happen is huge. So, you know, it fits right in with the kind of work that we're doing in the communities here. And it's just so important. We need those tools. We need those tips and resources to make our families healthier. Mm-hmm. So, you know, I was telling you before the show that I think that Cooking Matters at the Store and the products we're looking at also ties in with the Healthy Corner Store program that we're working on here locally. You know, one example of a eating better program, we work with our corner store managers and owners to bring these healthier products in and have them available for people when they are grabbing, you know, something at a corner store really quick, getting gas, looking for something to eat. If we don't have the bananas right there by the counter, you know, and the chips and candy are there, instead you just grab whatever's easiest and you're on the road. So we're really trying to shift that environment to make it easier for folks to get and grab and buy and actually use these great healthy foods.
Right.
So I'm excited you're here. And I just wanted to mention that we have actually had Cooking Matters at the Store here locally, and we're hoping today that more people will join us in signing up for tours, getting their organizations to sign up for tours, and really making this happen so that you know, we're reaching more and more and more families.
That would be fantastic because I think it really is getting the word out that these types of resources are available. I think most people don't think, hey, I bet I can go find someone who will give me a tour of the grocery store, or even think that they need it. But I think the reality is when you're walking down an aisle and you're confronted with all of those different choices of bread or spaghetti sauce, whatever it might be, and you have to figure out what tastes good, what fits my budget, what will my kids eat, what is going to be the best choice for my health, that's a hard thing to navigate. And so if somebody can kind of help you walk through some of those choices and make you feel a little bit more confident about those things you're putting in your basket, that can have a huge impact.
and it will become automatic too. I know, we're moms of young kids, and when I'm at the grocery store, any of these big grocery stores, and I have my almost 3 and almost 5-year-old boys in the cart, it's like, and moms know this at home. It's all you can do to kind of wrangle them in, give them another book and another Matchbox car to kind of keep them happy. You really can't take tons of time to look through the hundreds and hundreds of, breads and, products that they have. And so if we have a few more skills and automatically know, let me turn this product around, look at what I need to look at and throw it in the cart quick, that makes a big difference.
It does. And I think also giving permission to say, I'm not going to change everything at one time. And you probably shouldn't change everything at one time anyway, but say, okay, this week I'm going to spend my 2 extra minutes and I'm going to look at the labels on my cereals or on my crackers. And spending some time at home and seeing what you usually purchase, looking in your refrigerator, looking in your pantry and saying, okay, this is what I usually get. Oh, this one's got an ingredient I don't really want to see. Maybe I can find one that's got a few more whole grains in it. And so the next week when you go shopping, or in 2 weeks, you go back and you say, oh, look, here's a choice. Let me try this one, bring it home, see if it meets everyone's approval, and then maybe that becomes one of the new featured products.
That's a great idea. Yeah, I think, and research backs it up, that if you can make a few small changes or put a few extra minutes in each week to making these healthy choices, that's what's going to last. It's not, changing your whole diet overnight, or, starting to work out at the gym for 10 hours every day. You need to really think about these small little things you could do every day, because that's really going to last.
Right.
So I love that, whole concept of, take a little bit of time to focus in on one product this week. We know you can't, spend 4 hours at the grocery store. Sometimes all you have is 10 minutes. So I love that that's weaved in as well.
And I think it's an important thing to focus on some of the skills that are going to both help you know if it's the best choice economically, and then the one where it helps you know whether it's the best choice from a nutrition standpoint. And so kind of balancing between those two seems to be the combination that we need in order for people to make their best decision.
Great. Well, I am excited to go to the Pseudo grocery store with you.
Sure.
And get shopping and exploring and really showing the viewers the differences between products and unit pricing and all the things that we've alluded to already.
Sounds great.
So shall we do it?
Let's do it.
Okay. Hello. We are back at our grocery store. Kara Showers, Alicia, McCabe. We are going to start in the produce section. So
today our produce section consists entirely of carrots, but it will give us, I think, a pretty good example of some of the information that we cover when we are actually doing a grocery store tour. So let me ask you a question. When you go to the grocery store, do you ever look at the small little price that's on the sticker?
I do.
That's a trick question for you.
I do, but yes.
So,
but I didn't before we had our Cooking Matters at the Store training.
So
see,
you learned something in your training.
Absolutely.
So it's interesting, a lot of people don't pay attention to that small price that's on a label. And I think that's probably one of the things that we focus on the most when we start the tour, because most everyone's focused on what it actually costs today, so the big retail price. But this little unit price on the side is really the key to letting you compare between products and know whether you're getting the best deal. And it's going to give you the cost per unit. We use unit price all the time when we're buying gasoline. Everything is, however many dollars and cents per gallon, and we think in terms of unit price there. But in the grocery store, we focus entirely on the retail price. So with something like carrots, most of us would probably think that, maybe buying the 5-pound bag of carrots might be a better deal than our 1-pound bag of carrots. But the only way to truly know is to actually compare those prices. So I've got the 5-pound one in my left hand and the 1-pound bag in my right hand, and look at the unit price difference. It's almost 50 cents per pound difference.
Wow.
Just based on that size. Now, of course, the catch with that is, especially if it's maybe just you and one other person living in your house, are you really going to go through 5 pounds of carrots?
Right. Even if it's a better deal, you get more for your money. You don't want it to go bad in the fridge.
Exactly. So you mentioned that you have little kids. I have a little one as well, and this is an empty package of baby carrots, probably because my daughter ate them all. So baby carrots, definitely same size. They're both 1 pound, and so we can look and we can see that's a 70-cent per pound difference in that unit cost to that retail cost. But I might choose to spend some extra dollars just to get those baby carrots for the convenience.
Right, you don't have to peel them and cut them, and yes, they're ready to go.
Exactly. So I think, a lot of times when we do the grocery store tours, the question that you get asked all the time is this product better than this product? And my answer is always, it depends. And it depends on so many things. It depends on price, it depends on what you like, it depends on how much time you have. And so I think what's great about the store is kind of understanding that there are different options. So you might not usually find a can of carrots or a bag of frozen carrots in the produce section, but that's actually a really important cost-saving tip when you're shopping, is to remember that our fruits and vegetables that come in the canned and the frozen forms have the same nutrients most of the time as the fresh ones. And so you can save a tremendous amount of money by choosing a canned option. Now you'll notice this one is a no salt added brand. And so with canned vegetables, we're usually worried that people have added extra salt to it. With canned fruit, we're worried about heavy syrups and light syrups. With any of them, you can rinse them off with just your tap water, and it washes away most of the extra sugar or salt or sodium. For frozen, it can be really great to use those from a convenience factor. I don't know if your kids are picky, but if you're feeding one broccoli and the other one doesn't want broccoli and wants green beans, having 2 bags of those frozen can be the difference between a fight at dinner and everybody happily eating away at their vegetables.
Definitely.
So,
absolutely. And I noticed too here with the canned carrots, the no salt added canned carrots, 88 cents is per pound is the unit price.
Right.
Which is obviously much cheaper than your baby carrots.
Or even your whole bag.
Right. Just slightly more expensive than unit price than the whole big 5-pound bag of carrots. So and even like throwing this into like a chicken noodle soup or something just to get a little extra veg in there.
Yep.
Is a great.
And I think that idea of the fresh, there's pros and cons to all of the different forms of produce, but kind of knowing that at any time you always have something in your pantry that you can grab and add into a meal. I think a lot of healthy eating is, oftentimes people are worried that they have to, dial back certain foods. They can't eat this and they can't eat that if they want to be healthy. And I tend to look at it as, what can you add in? Can you add in more fruits, more vegetables, more whole grains? Those are the things that are going to make the huge difference. So kind of knowing that all those forms of produce work.
That's great.
That can be a huge difference.
Yep, because you don't have one way, you have 5 different ways you can add carrots into your diet.
Right.
And it really depends on what works for the family. So, but unit price. Key.
Unit price is key. So we're gonna walk all the way to the cereal aisle. It's a long journey that we're taking.
Very long.
And today there's only 2 cereal choices.
Okay.
But in the cereal aisle, what we tend to look at is the nutrition facts panel. So the nutrition facts panel is rather small on the side of most of these boxes. So I have a very large form today that we can look at.
Good.
And it helps us go through this. And so some of the things that we would look at with this nutrition facts panel, see if any of you can see this.
Yeah.
When you're looking at it, kind of the first thing that we're going to look at is how many servings are in a container and what size that serving is. Because unfortunately, if your package, we'll just look here at our Apple Jacks, there are 17 servings in that box. I doubt any of us are going to actually sit down and have all 17 servings at one time, but you might eat 2 cups of Apple Jacks. And if you do, you actually have to double every number on here. And so it involves a little bit of math, and people need to realize that they need to pay attention to how many servings are in a package and think about how much they're actually having for their portion. Some of the other things that we would look at on here are the amount of fat, the amount of sodium, the amount of protein, the amount of sugar. And with something like cereal, I would say the big things that we're going to look at are sugar and fiber. So let's compare these two.
So I noticed and I love that we didn't just fall for the sexy marketing on the front that you will see in the aisles of like, this has a whole grain in it and all sorts of things that they can put on the front, you know, the companies. But we used our wrist. We got a little wrist workout to see what is actually in here.
Exactly. So if we look at this one, let's actually start with our ingredient list.
Okay.
So we'll go all the way down to the bottom. What is your first ingredient?
Applejack's first ingredient, any guesses at home? Sugar.
Sugar. So my first ingredient is whole grain oats. And ingredient lists are organized by volume. So what that means is that in this box, there's more whole grain oats than anything else in there.
And in this box, there's more sugar than anything else.
So a parent might look at the front and see that it's got whole grains in it and it's a good source of fiber, and they may think, well, that's a really healthy breakfast to give to my kid. They love it. And then when you actually look at it and you realize, whoa, the first ingredient is sugar. So one great tip that I have for a family that is usually buying Apple Jacks is, what if you bought Apple Jacks and Cheerios? Or even the store brand version of both, and you did a bowl that was half Apple Jacks, half Cheerios. At least that's a good first step to cutting that sugar in half.
Definitely.
For something like fiber, you know, what we might want to look at over here is that percent daily value. So a good rule to remember is that if you see a percent that's 5 or smaller, the number 5 or smaller, that means it's low. And if you see a percent that is kind of 20% or more, that would mean that it's high. Okay. So with our Cheerios, the fiber is 7%. So that's, you know, neither high nor low.
Actually, it's 12. The line, carbohydrates was 7.
I didn't
so
even see it
more,
right. So it's
more.
even more in the middle. With our Apple Jacks, let's see what we've got. Fiber is also 12. So that isn't really going to be the deciding factor there. Something like a Raisin Bran or a shredded wheat, that would have a lot more fiber in it. The sugars is where we're going to see the big difference with these two. We already talked about that first ingredient. There's 12 grams of them in the Apple Jacks and 1 gram in the sugar, in the Cheerios.
Yep.
Does 12 grams mean anything to you? Does that gram amount mean anything?
I always look at the percentage. What do you...
And sugar is one of those ones that doesn't actually have a percent.
I know.
So that can be a little tricky. It helps to have a visual. So 1 sugar packet, which is something people see a lot, a sugar packet is actually a teaspoon of sugar.
Okay.
And that's about somewhere between 4 and 5 grams.
Okay.
So if you wanted to do the math, one cup serving of Apple Jacks has about 3 teaspoons of sugar in it.
Okay, and so that's how many packets?
So that would be 3 packets of sugar per bowl added in.
Okay.
So sometimes it's helpful to kind of have that visual and for families to know, what does it mean when something has 39 grams of sugar in it versus 3 grams of sugar. So those would be some of the things that we would look at. The other big thing, of course, that we would look at, which I don't have today, unfortunately, I have the name brand products today. At the grocery store, I would certainly grab whatever store brand version of Cheerios we had and store brand version of any of the cereals and do the comparison. The prices of store brand products tend to be considerably lower than the name brand because you don't have to pay for the marketing.
Exactly.
So that can be a great...
And sometimes the store brands are, I feel like, just as tasty, sometimes tastier.
Absolutely.
Yeah. But
absolutely.
Try them and see.
It can be a good cost-saving strategy just to try some of those store brand items.
And even mix it in with, right? Mix it in with your Cheerios.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Would you like to go to the protein section?
I would love to walk one more step.
So our protein department today has 2 things. We've got some ground beef, and then we'll go talk about the beans. So with ground meats, the big thing that we're going to look at is the percents that are on there. So if you look at this one, it says 85% lean, 15% fat. Any idea what that means?
Not very lean.
Yeah, not very lean. So you might
Even though it seems like, oh, there's not that much fat because it's mostly lean, there are better options
Right.
that I would buy. I don't know.
So meat is more expensive than fat. And so you'll see some different percents. You might see 93-7, you might see 90-10, you might even see 70-30. And so something that's a lower meat percent and a higher fat percent is actually going to have a less expensive unit price and then your retail price. The problem is if you're cooking that up, say you're going to get some of this meat, you're going to saute it in a pan, and then you're going to add in some spaghetti sauce, you're probably going to have a lot of fat in that pan. And what most people are going to do is they're going to spoon it off. And so you've just spent money for something that you just threw down the drain. So
Money down the drain too. Yeah.
it can be a more cost-efficient thing to get the higher percentage of meat. That said, if it really is more affordable for you to get something that has a higher amount of fat, you just want to make sure that you're using that in a recipe where you can actually spoon off that fat. When we're talking about the fats that tend to be in meats, we're talking about saturated fats. And those can be the ones that can raise cholesterol, can cause, not can cause, but can contribute to some of the health issues that people might be dealing with.
But if, like you're saying, if there's a really good deal on the 85% lean, 15% fat meat,
Right.
and there's a chance for you to spoon it off, it would probably still be saving you money if it's on, good sale that day at the store.
Absolutely,
Okay.
absolutely. The other thing that we would look at with meat, any of the types of meat that are in the fresh section, is to look at the size of the package. So a package of chicken breast that maybe has 2 or 3 in it versus one that has 15. You're going to get a much better deal if you can buy that family pack size and just bring it home, divide them up into maybe some individual Tupperware containers or Ziploc bags, and stick them in your freezer and use them throughout the month.
Yep.
So there's a lot of different cost-saving strategies that you can have when you are trying to save money on the meat. The other great source of protein that is really inexpensive at the store is beans. So I have 3 different types of beans today. If you notice, 2 canned options. And do you notice the difference in their labels?
Low sodium.
Right.
Yep.
So again, we talked about that a little bit with the canned carrots. Most products now in their canned form, you can find them with a reduced sodium version. If for some reason they didn't have the low sodium version at your store, you can buy the regular one. Just bring it home, open the can, and then rinse them off with water. The other form is dried, of
Dried
course.
beans.
So pros and cons. These take a little while to cook. These ones pop out of the can, they're ready to eat.
Right.
What is really interesting when you're looking at the labels for these is it actually will look like the dried beans are more expensive than the canned beans,
But
which kind of confuses people. It's all about serving size. So how many servings do you have in your package?
in this canned bean, we have 3.5 servings in here.
I have 12.
See?
So
Okay.
you might spend about 30 or 40 cents more on a pound of beans than you would for 1 can of beans, but you're going to get 3 to 4 times the serving
Right.
out of it.
So that's really a better deal.
It is a better deal,
Okay.
but for convenience,
Right.
the canned beans are probably going to win. And if you're looking for a lean form of protein that is really cost effective, beans are going to beat meat anytime.
And I know with the dried beans, I don't use them all the time, but I will throw them like in the crock pot, making up chili, so it cooks all day. You get all this great flavor and a cheap source of protein in there. So that's really nice. The other thing that I know I do at home when I'm making up, like, we're doing taco night like everyone has, besides having tons of fruit and veggies cut up on the side, I also, this is my mom's recipe, she would throw in with the ground meat, usually a leaner percentage, a can of black beans that were already rinsed and drained. So you get more for your buck. I have like 3 or 4 leftovers in the fridge for the week instead of none.
Right.
So it does help actually make your meat go further.
And
if
we
you
have a
wanna
lot
combo
of
it up.
we have a lot of recipes that we talk to families about as well. And one of them, we do have a healthy turkey taco recipe that is, exactly that. It's 1.25 pounds of the ground turkey, and then it's 1 or 2 cans of beans that go in there, and they they almost double it. Cannellini beans into a can of tuna, you suddenly have twice the volume you had before.
Yeah, because there's so many different kinds of beans. We just chose black today to talk about, but
Right.
Same for all of them. And sometimes they even have mixed packs of
Yeah,
dried.
yeah.
So great.
Those can be great things to go through with folks. So we'll come down to our last section of the store. We're going to go down to the dairy section. So some things that we like to look at in the dairy section, we focus again on the unit pricing, and then we also talk a bit about fat. So dairy products, again, because it's an animal source, they're going to have that saturated fat to them. And unless you're talking about a child under the age of 2, we really don't need to have that extra saturated fat in our diet. And so it's an easy way to pick a lower fat milk or yogurt product. So I've got the gallon, and I've got the half gallon, and I've got the quart. And if you look at the unit prices on these, you know, if you were to buy 4 of these, which would give you the same amount of milk as one of these, just to compare this, the unit price on the gallon is $3.85, and the unit price per gallon in this quart size, $7.64. So huge
difference.
Huge cost savings to be able to buy that larger size if you're going to use it all.
I was just going to say, that said, if you're one person, like you were suggesting at the beginning, you don't want the other
Right.
3 quarts as that to go bad, you know, if you buy the big one.
Exactly.
You're only going to drink that much.
Exactly. Something else to notice is that, you know, I have a 1% version and a 2% version. Is the price any different?
No.
No. So exactly the same price regardless of how much fat is in there. So I think that can be a huge cost-saving strategy to kind of know that you can actually buy something that is a healthier choice, and it's not going to cost you any more money than it would if you were to buy something that was, you know, a higher fat option.
And if you are a person who has always loved whole milk, you know, this is your only way to go, wouldn't want you to go right to skim milk.
No.
Let's kind of like go down the pike so that, you know, try the 2%. Even if you need to mix, you know, you're 1 or 2 people, you mix whole and 2% to start. You know, really, like, again, it comes back to those small little changes so that you actually will get used to, you know, drinking the milk. It tastes good. You're still enjoying it. You know, if you're going to go from whole to skim, it's going to be a shock because this
Right.
tastes more like water, I'm sure, than you're used to if you're a whole milk person. So.
I've actually had the opportunity to do some milk taste tests
Ooh.
in the grocery store before. And it's funny. We do blind taste tests. We just give people little cups. And very few people can tell the difference between 2% and 1%.
Ooh.
A lot of people can't tell the difference between full-fat milk and 2% milk. So you can almost always tell between a full-fat milk and a skim milk.
Sure.
But there is middle ground available, and we highly recommend some of those choices.
Great.
The other thing in the dairy department that a lot of people have started purchasing lately is yogurt. Is that a snack that you tend to use in your family?
It is.
So it's a funny thing about yogurt. We have learned to think that yogurt is always healthy.
And by the way, there's like a bazillion yogurt choices now, from, you know, the kids stuff all the way to, you know, the store brand. And I feel like the aisle just gets bigger every time I go in.
It does. So I brought in a type of yogurt today that has candy on the top. So I would look at this and say, well, it's still yogurt, but it's yogurt dessert. If I was choosing between ice cream that had little candies on it or yogurt that had candies, the yogurt with the candies is probably the healthier choice between the two. If I was choosing between, you know, this type of yogurt, it might be a healthier choice to go for the one that didn't have the candies. So I thought it might be interesting to see how much sugar is in some of these.
It would be.
So I'm going to
Do you want
have
me to
you
hold something?
hold
Sure.
that and go ahead and reach into it and pull out how many packets of sugar are in there.
4.
So 4 packets of sugar in a non-fat vanilla
Greek yogurt. Okay.
Now, it's important to remember that milk naturally has sugar in it. So some of the sugar is just naturally in there. Some is added. So this is how many? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 in this same size container, but it's got a lot more sugar in it. So just important things when you're reading that nutrition facts panel that you can start making some of these choices.
So keep flipping when you're in the yogurt aisle, of course, and unit price again, because I know it varies from the big tubs to the little ones and,
Absolutely.
and everywhere in between.
So you can see there's a lot of different things to keep in mind when you're at the grocery store, and it can be really helpful to have somebody there with you to kind of navigate you through it one time.
Definitely. So that is why we are ready and willing to host tours here in Wakefield and beyond. We have folks in the community that have been trained on cooking matters at the store, and we'd love to take your organization on a tour. So please, viewers, reach out to me at the Melrose or Wakefield Health Departments so that we can schedule a tour for your organization. And I know, Alicia, you guys are willing to step in if there's more tours than we can handle.
Absolutely.
So thank you again for everything. And you mentioned the recipes
Yeah.
up on the website. So is this the...
If anybody would like some healthy recipes that are low cost, cookingmatters.org. We have all of our recipes available on there. We also have a free app that's on Google Play and iTunes called Cooking Matters. Again, it's got some cost-saving strategies as well as about 100 different healthy and really tasty recipes.
And I didn't know about that before today, so I'm going to make sure I have that on my phone coming up. So,
Fantastic.
So thanks again. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
See you soon.
Fun.